tell people that I have been able to not only sustain the growth of my business, but continue to grow after quitting Instagram. The amount of eye rolls that I get and also a sense of confusion is real. But let's talk about it, because here's one of the biggest things. When I stopped using Instagram and Facebook to not only grow my business, but run my business online, the way that things shifted and changed was massive. Not only was I able to get so much more of my time back, but the profitability inside of my company has grown by so much. In the first few years of actually doing this and transitioning from just relying solely on Instagram and Facebook to starting to just run my business without the platforms and just stopping marketing altogether, it was a little scary, because the reality is, and if you watch one of our previous videos when I shared my story about why I quit social media altogether, what ended up happening is it wasn't actually intentional. It wasn't really planned. I just didn't have a choice. And what I was surprised by is that not only did my business not completely go into flames and disappear and everyone leave, but it maintained the same amount of growth with so much less effort. And I think for a lot of folks, this is really confusing and sometimes really unclear about how that even works. But here's what I want to share with you. And here's how I know that it actually worked for me. Because when I stopped pouring so much time and energy into constantly creating new posts, new content, new social media reels, new stories, and having to pour the hours and hours and hours of just mental energy and creativity every single day, I had all of that energy back for me. And when I had that energy back for me, I was able to show up better for the clients that I already had. And so this is an interesting thing, because the culture on Instagram and even on TikTok these days is constantly around this idea of rapid growth. How can you grow as quick as possible, as fast as possible? And you hear people throwing out outlandish numbers like how they made $380,000 this month, or how they made $700,000 last month. And you're just kind of like, is this even real? Is this even true? No shade, some people, they are doing those things. But the reality is you have to start to ask yourself the question, at what cost? What is it going to cost you to show up in that way to make that kind of money that quickly? And is it actually what you want? Is it actually sustainable for you? For me personally, I had to get really real with myself and say, I don't actually want to be constantly posting on Instagram stories and constantly learning every new platform and showing up on TikTok and showing up on Clubhouse and showing up in all of the places and all of the ways, because it's not me. And that was really confronting. But here's the biggest thing that happened. When I stopped showing up on these platforms, I started showing up better for my clients, and my clients started to get better results. And what was interesting is the better that I showed up for my clients, the longer they wanted to actually continue to work with me. It didn't have to be this game of constantly going and focusing on client acquisition, which is really the way that the social media business model is set up. You're creating content, you bring people in, they go through it, then they leave, and then you get new people. That is the launch model of the coaching industry, or any service industry really. And instead what we ended up doing is we buckled down and we say, okay, great, how can I help you? How can we create something that's more of a retainer, where instead of just focusing on constantly acquiring new clients, we built something that was actually useful in solving problems and that allowed people to continue to stay with us through a monthly recurring subscription model. Now, I'm not going to get into details all right now, but what I want you to understand is two things that happened. One, client retention went up. Client lifetime value went up. This is what grew the business exponentially, because instead of focusing on constantly acquiring new leads and spending so much time pouring energy into creating content to bring people in, I focused on the people I already had. I focused on the people that were already paying me and investing in me, and focusing on how can I make it better for them. And then ironically, because of that, guess what happened? Referrals went up. So many of the clients that I ended up getting weren't even from people that I was marketing to. It was because clients were sharing with clients who were sharing with clients who were sharing with clients, and people started to reach out directly to me before I got into any SEO marketing whatsoever. Now, here's the crazy thing. When I did start integrating SEO into the business, everything else continued to take off. So here's what I want you to take away. You do not have to rely on Instagram and Facebook to grow your business. You do not have to rely on Instagram and Facebook to continue to get clients. And this isn't to say that it doesn't work and it's not a great option. I think it's an amazing strategy for certain people who want to be creatives, who want to be content creators, who enjoy consistently showing up every single day, creating new stuff, getting people engaged, looking at trends, trying to have more fun and outlandish and loud ways to show up online. That's the vibe for some people. And I salute you. I do. I really, really do. If it's just not for me, it's just not for me. And that's okay. So if it's not for you either, and you're here and you're watching this video, I want you to know that you can build an incredibly successful business that does not rely 100% on social media. And in fact, you can be even more successful when you're doing this, especially if the idea of constantly having having to show up and create stories, create reels, create carousels, create TikToks, go in the DMs, engage, comment. If all of that sounds exhausting to you, let's figure out a better way for you to actually create content that continues to compound reach and growth every single month. And this is really the power of SEO marketing. So I'll talk about this more in future videos. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button down below. And if you want to learn more about our actual process for building a business beyond the feed, you can subscribe and opt into a free guide here. We'll walk you through the exact 3-step process that we take clients to go from being 100% social media reliant to 100% social media optional. Can't wait to see you in future videos. Stay tuned.